Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the next topic in the SQL basics, and that is the temporary table. So we are going to see how we can use the temporary table in the SQL. So in the previous session, we already discussed about the select statement, then where clause, order by clause, and we also discussed some of the examples related to that. So if you're not aware about the SQL basis, how to install the Microsoft SQL Server and anything related to the theoretical like what is SQL, what is DBMS, RDBMS. So I'm suggesting you to watch the previous video first and then you can start with this video. So in previous session, we already covered a lot of example related to this order by, where, and the combination of all. What is the distinct? How to concat the two columns? Everything we have seen with the examples. So let's start with the today's video. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm closing all these queries we have created in the previous session. Whatever these queries I have wrote, I have provided these queries in the description of the particular video. So if you want to refer, you can refer that particular video description. You will get the all queries there. So let's start with the today's session. So today we are going to discuss about the temporary table. So let's first understand what does mean by a temporary table and why we use that in the SQL. So it is a special type of table that is used to store a intermediate data temporary during the execution of the queries or the store procedure. Suppose I want to create a temporary table. Suppose this employee details table we have already created, and I want to create one temporary table for this one. So basically, I don't want anything, whatever the changes I'm doing, I don't want that to be affect on my original table. And I will create some temporary table, and whatever the queries execution I want to do on that particular table, I will do that on the temporary table. Okay. So these tables are created in the temporary database, uh, which is in the tempdb database, and it is automatically dropped after the scope ends, and making them ideal for the storage of the data during the complex operation. So basically, sometimes suppose I am writing something, a big query, I'm updating the data in this particular table, I'm modifying something, and I'm not sure if this works or not. In that case, I can do all that operation on my temporary table, and once everything procedure is done and we got the result whatever we want, I can apply the same query on my original table. So basically, for the temporary purpose, if I want to make some changes, if I want to run any queries or do the execution in the temporary manner, or you don't want to affect your original database, original table, or on the store procedure also, then you can use this temporary table. So, how to write this temporary table? So, let's see that. So suppose I want to create the temporary table for this employee detail table. So first thing I need to select this employee database where I have created this table, right? So as we are writing, suppose I want to fetch all the data into database, I write select star from employee detail. The same kind of query we are writing, but we are moving the data into the temporary table. So how to do that? Right, select star into, and I'm writing hash temp1. So this hashtag I'm using to create my temporary one table, and I'm creating the temporary table of this employee detail. So you can just drag and drop it here. So it will create the temporary table of this employee detail, and that temporary table name is the temp1. So let's see how it is exactly getting created. You can execute this query. You can see the 6 rows are affected. So as you already know, we are having the six record in the employee detail. So all these records are getting inserted into this temp one, and we have created this temp one temporary table here. Okay, so how we can see the data from the temp one table? Our normal select statement we are going to write here, select star from hash temp one. So this is our temporary table, right? So just execute this query. Here you can see this the same data. If I write the select star from employee details, let me write that query as well. So you will understand what exactly these data is coming for the temp one and the employee detail. Okay, let me expand this one. So if you see here, both are having the six records. This first one is the temp one table and the second one is the employee details table. If you compare these two table, you can see both are having the six record and the data is also the same. So the same records, whatever in the employee detail, the same data is getting inserted into the temp one table, and the temp one is the temporary table. So whatever the operations we want to perform on the temporary table, we can perform on that temp one table. Okay, so anything complex processing, if you want to check that, you can create a temporary table and you can check your complex operation, and you can perform the same operations on your original table as well. Suppose here I have written this select star from temporary one table. I'm creating new query. Here what I'm doing, I'm writing the same. Suppose select star from employee details. Okay. If I write this query here, I can see the same six records here as well, right? So if I create a multiple queries in the same query editor, I can see this employee details record. Let's see if we can see the temporary one record as well. So I'm writing select star from temp one. Here you can see we are not getting that temp one option. Let me, I forgot hash. So here you can see we are not getting that option. Let me write this query still and let's execute this one. You can see I'm getting the error message as the invalid object name temp one. So why we are getting this error? So temp table here when we are created, we have used a single hashtag here. So this hash we are using, that is just we are using the single hash here. So because of that, it is not getting recognized in another query window. So there is a one more example where we can use a double hashtag and that will get recognized in the another query window. Let's see how we can do that. So I'm going to write the same query below. I'm copying this and I'm writing the same query below. Instead of single hashtag, I'm using the double hashtag. Okay. And this temp one, instead of that, I'm using the temp two. So temporary two table I'm creating from the same table employee detail. So let's execute this query first. You can see the six rows are affected. That means the query is executed successfully. Now let's execute these two queries. We will see what exactly the temporary two data is coming and what exactly the data in the employee tables, employee details that we will see here. So this is my temporary two table. I want to see the data here. Okay, you can see we are getting the suggestion as I'm in the same query window. Let's execute this one. You can see here both the table having the same records and the details are the also same. So the temporary two, when we are using a single hash or double hash, it doesn't matter, it will create the temporary table. But when you are using the single hash, I can access the data in the same query window. But suppose I'm trying to access the data in the another query window, it is showing as the invalid object name for the single hash. But when I'm using the double hash, let's see what exactly the data it is showing or not. Ideally, it should show data in the another query window as well. Let's see that. So I'm copying this statement here, select star from temp2, and here we are using a double hash. Let's execute. Now you can see it is showing the data, right? So basically, when you use a single hash sign, when you are creating your temporary table, it don't get recognized in another query window. But if you use a double hash sign, it get recognized in the another query window as well. So that is the difference using a single hash and the double hash. So single hash table is basically called as a local temporary table, and the scope exists only within the session or the connection that is created, and its visibility is only visible to the user or the process that is created, and the lifespan of this it drop automatically when the session ends or the connection close. If I close this connection and if I open this query editor again, then I cannot access the same table. The same will happen for the temp2 as well. We will see that as an example. So before that, let's understand what is the use of a double hashtag. So it is called as a global temporary table, and the scope exists across all the sessions and the connection. So if I open multiple query window, I can access the temp2 table in every query windows. So visibility can be accessed by any session or the connection, and the lifespan of the double hash table are drop only when the session that created it ends and no other session are referencing it. So this is the difference between the single hash and double hash temporary table. And what is the use, like why this use when we use the single hash and when we use the double hash? So it is used for the temporary data for one user. When we are using a single hash, only one user can use that temporary data, and when we are using a double hash, that temporary data you can share with the multiple users. So that's the difference. So when you use a single hash for isolated session specific operation, and use double hash only when you need to share a data between a multiple sessions and have a proper cleanup mechanisms in a place. So that is the difference between a single hash and the double hash for the temporary table. So as I told, this is the one connection, right? I can access the double hash temporary table in the another query window as well. Suppose I'm opening one more query editor. So I will just go and write SQL server. So it will open one more query editor for me. So once this query window editor is open, just expand the database. Here you can see the employee tables. Also you can see where we have created this DBO employee table. Let's see if we can access this temporary one and temporary two table. So temporary one table we cannot access in another query window as well. So we cannot access that temporary two window in another connection as well. That is just for the single user. But let's try here if I can access. It will obviously show me error as we discuss. Let's see that. You can see it is showing me error. Invalid object name temp1. Let's try for the temp2. You can see I can access the temp to data in another query editor as well. So suppose this is my one user. You are here. You can see there are two query editors are open. SQL query editors are open. One is this one where I created this temp to table and the temp one table. And this is the another query editor where I have just accessing the temp to table, and still I can access the temp to table in another query editor. So multiple users can use the temporary table created with the double hash. Okay. Then the next thing, as we discuss, if I end the first session, then that is the lifespan of that temporary table. So suppose if I close this one, this is my first query editor where I created this temporary one and the temporary two table. I'm closing this one. Okay. I don't want to save these queries and I close that query editor. Now, if I try to access the temporary two table, it will give me the error. Let's see that. Here you can see it is showing invalid object name temp2, and 2 minutes before it was showing me data. Why it is happening? So when I close the session, the lifespan of that temporary two table was there till I have the active session, and when I close the session, that lifespan ends, and that's why I cannot access that temp to table. So with double hashtag, when the that temporary table is active, then only the other users can use that temporary table. If where we have created the temporary table, if that session is closed, then other users or other query editor which we are using to access the temporary to table with double hashtag, we cannot access that table. So this is the difference. So let's understand once again what is the difference between the temporary table using a single hash sign and double hash sign. So temporary table with single hash sign don't get recognized in another query window, even in another query editor as well. So basically this is for the single user purpose only. For multi-user purpose, we are using a temporary table with double hash sign, and it get recognized in another query window as well as in the another SQL instance as well. But the condition is the temporary table instance should be active when we are trying to access that the temporary table. So this is basic difference between a single hash and double hash for the creation of the temporary table. I hope this video is useful for you. And if you have any question, you can put down that in the comment section. So thank you for watching this video till the end and have a nice day.